Sheriff Ray Nash, Police Dynamics Media. I want to talk with you about this dynamic of strongholds. What happens when criminals move into neighborhoods and take over? And to do this, I want you to think for a moment about your jurisdiction and imagine it as a giant chessboard. And on this chessboard, a war is being waged. You know, chess is about war. It's about two armies lined up on opposite sides of this battlefield, and they begin to move forward and try to take the ground from the opponent. All wars are about taking back the ground. Now, in this illustration of a giant chessboard, each one of the little squares on the chessboard represents a neighborhood or a community within your jurisdiction. And one of the reasons we can apply these principles of police dynamics to any agency of any size is because every jurisdiction is composed of exactly the same thing. Families living together in neighborhoods and communities. You may have a larger chessboard than I've got, and you may have a smaller chessboard, but when we break it down to the individual components, we can bring it down to the neighborhood level, and that's what coactive policing, neighborhood policing, community policing is all about. Now, something happens in some of these neighborhoods. There's a breakdown of sorts. There's a breakdown in the family stability. There is a breakdown in the moral integrity of the various social institutions. There is some type of an opening that's created that allows these criminals to move in and to start to take over. They begin to rule the streets through fear and intimidation. They commit random acts of violence. They commit property crimes. They commit vandalisms. They commit open-air drug dealing, and as a result, the criminals can become entrenched in these neighborhoods, and when that happens, we say that we have a criminal stronghold. And what the criminals will do at this point is they'll begin to venture out of that stronghold into other neighborhoods within your jurisdiction, commit their evil act, and then retreat back into the safety of the stronghold. And so, as police administrators, we have certain strategies that we might employ to deal with this particular problem. One thing that we could do would be to patrol around all of these other neighborhoods, hoping that we might intercept a criminal in the act of committing a crime. And I suppose a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then, but that is not a very effective way of utilizing our limited police resources. We've got to begin to attack the stronghold. The three things that allow that stronghold to exist: fear, apathy, and tolerance for crime. How are we going to attack that? By building trust-based relationships with the law-abiding people, the good people that still live within that stronghold. But you won't ever see them. You won't ever hear about them because they're there, but they're not going to make themselves known because they're scared. So they're not coming out at night. They're not going to call the police because they sure as heck don't want you showing up on their doorstep. They don't want to be identified by the criminals as cooperating with the police, and when that happens, the criminals have free reign. They're entrenched in that neighborhood. It's very, very difficult to break it down and demolish that stronghold when that actually happens. Now that reputation has been established. So in future videos, we're going to talk about some specific strategies that we can employ to target these neighborhoods, to target these criminal strongholds with character-based principles of police dynamics, to build these trust-based relationships and tear down the fear, apathy, and tolerance for crime that the criminals must have in order to operate within these neighborhoods.